Hi, I'm Chip Leer with Northland Fishing Tackle, and one of the final steps that we take before we hit the ice every season, and I guess for that matter, every time that you hit the ice, it's one of the things you need to review and analyze, is your line, your rod, and reel selection. What I'm talking about that is, one, we're going to get to fresh line here and the importance of that in a second, but it's incredibly important, the symphony that takes place between your rod, your reel, your line, which is your line, the line type, and the line weight, and then all that balances with what you're hanging on the end of it with your lure choice. So let's back up here just a little bit, and first and foremost we'll talk about the fact that there's basically three types of lines that we're utilizing on the ice. There's ice braids, right, which has no stretch whatsoever. Ice braids absolutely awesome. In fact, that you can fish really deep water. It has no stretch. It's going to get a great hook set. Downside is it actually holds a little bit of moisture, so if you use it outside, it'll freeze up a little bit. But I love it, especially on my bigger rigs for lake trout and big walleyes, and anytime I'm fishing anywhere with slightly bigger hooks in diameter and I really want to get that hook set, I love having braid on my line. I'll use that there. Monofilament is straightforward. We see it a lot. It's got a little bit of elasticity to it. Just regular standard Bionic monofilament line is good for most fishing scenarios. It's very forgiving when you get a big fish on because it has some elasticity to it. Works great outdoors, indoors, or wherever you want to use it. Most of the time, myself personally, because of how and where I fish, I use a Bionic Fluoro Silk. And then what I like about Fluoro Silk is it's actually fluorocarbon line that's coated. So fluorocarbon sinks. So it's going to actually add to my presentation, drawing the line out, and most importantly, that line's going to lay straight from the tip of the rod all the way down to the lure itself. And so with that extra weight, it holds it, straightens it out, and keeps that lure better in contact with the tip of my rod, increasing the sensitivity of it all. Plus it's in lots of different diameters there, and like what we're talking about there is whether you're using a large here we've got a glow shot spoon on this rig here, or you're going down to the smallest, the subtlest, a little tiny presentations like that, balancing the line weight, which this would be 1 or 2 pound test here on a Fluoro Silk, to something up here which may be 6 or 7 or 8 pound test, that I've got something on my Fluoro Silk on a little bit larger line here. The thing to remember when you go ahead and spool your lines up, braid, keep an eye on it. It lasts for a long time. The only time you really need to replace it is if it shows a little bit of wear and tear. Otherwise, pretty much every time I go out, if I've got any kind of a leader on the end of that, I will tie a new one of those on my braid lines every single time. Fluoro Silk, because of the fact it's got some fluorocarbon inside and the weight to it, you can put it on ahead of time, especially with a straight line reel like this. It does not kink up real well, and if it does get any kind of kinks in it, generally if you heat it up or put it a little bit over your knee and rub it back and forth, it'll take any of those coils right out of it. But the straight line reels really help with that. The real trick is monofilament. We've all seen situations like this, and I brought up this example because this is what we're trying to avoid. You'll never feel a fish if we've got that much coil in the line. You only can feel when it's a straight taut line like so. But if we coil up and use spinning reels and we put our line on too far in advance, in other words, we let it sit there for a long period of time, it actually will hold that memory and know the fact that it's wrapped around that tiny little spool. So if you're using monofilament, plan to go through it a little bit more often, replace it more often, maybe put it on the night before you go fishing or even a few hours before you go fishing. It's going to fish straighter and better. Plus, monofilament, once it has that elasticity, you can over pull it and it will get weaker if it stretches itself out. To summarize it all, whether your fishing situation calls for the use of braid, monofilament, or Fluoro Silk type line that we have here, just make sure that it all balances out well. 1, make sure that it's fresh and ready to go, and 2, make sure that the line weight complements the lure so that when you hit the ice, you're ready to catch some fish. Thanks for watching the Northland Fishing Tackle YouTube channel, and remember, if you've got a fishing question you would like answered, comment on it below and we'll answer it in a future video.